We all know ATK or VGN for making some of the cheapest gaming mice on the market that actually are able to compete with the others in terms of these specs. But in this video, we're gonna check out an ATK mouse that costs $130. At least that's what it goes for on their own store. But we're gonna talk a lot more about that in this video. So definitely stay tuned because the shape of this thing actually does revive a classic inner scene that was truly underrated in certain aspects. But before we do any of that, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button and a notification bell right next to it if you're at all interested in these type of videos. As a quick disclaimer, this was indeed sent out to me by ATK. Normally I wouldn't review any of their products because most of them are just clones and undercut the entire market, but since this one doesn't tick both of these boxes, I'm actually gonna give them a chance. Before we get into any of that though, if you do buy this mouse on the official ATK site, you can also add the mouse pad to get that one for free. I've actually seen fresh reviews rocking that a lot. I also did get the mouse pad, but it smelled like crazy. It was reeking of chemicals. So that thing is still laying down in my garage. But in terms of the pad, it is a Poron-like soft pad with a balanced surface. It has this very dye-savvy feel, and it is actually 490 by 420, so the dimensions are at least good. And considering that it comes free with this mouse, if you buy it on their store, it's a decent pad. But then again, you're paying $130, so there better be something extra with it. Because normally their mice go for like half of that. And second of all, if you have bought this on the ATK store and didn't receive the purple translucent receiver, that means you got the wrong chip inside of that. It is not the same newest Nordic chip that is inside the mouse as well, so definitely reach out to ATK Gear to get the new one shipped out. But if you bought it on another platform like AliExpress or something like that, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're not getting that upgrade. I do think that was quite the mistake that they made, because advertising the brand new Nordic chip and not having it inside of the receiver just makes no sense to me at all. But at least they're shipping out replacement units for those who did get the old dongle. I've also seen at least 2 people break their mouse on a firmware update, so be aware of that. And besides that, there aren't any glaring issues I need to warn you off right now. Now, getting into the unboxing experience of the Duckbill, the packaging is way too big. It is freaking enormous and it just holds your mouse and the dongle in here, and that's pretty much it. As feedback here for ATK Gear, definitely slim this down next time please. There's no reason for his packaging to be this big. And inside of the packaging you get some stickers, a very stiff and well isolated USB-A to USB-C cable, some grips that do not feel grippy whatsoever because of the print, some red X-ray pad obsidian like skates that actually have decent rounded corners as well. And that's about it. In terms of the build quality, I have no real complaints here, but one thing that I will mention is that the shell is a tiny bit flexy on the sides. So if you really press into the mouse itself, you can feel the sides flexing, but that's just a signature ATK thing. Even their new F1 V2 Extreme whatever, I've heard from 2 of my reviewer friends already that the shell is still very flexible and way inferior to something compared to the Hitscan Hyperlight, for example. And the Duckbill also has this a bit. So if you're somebody who puts a bit of pressure into your mouse when gripping, or you have too much tension, yeah, you're gonna feel it. But besides that, the mouse feels absolutely amazing. There's no side-to-side wobble, there's no switch grinding. And there's definitely no creaking whatsoever on my unit. In terms of weight, this thing comes in at around 49 grams. So advertising this at 46 grams is an absolute lie. I do get that there are slight variances in terms of weight when it comes to manufacturing gaming mice, but over 3 grams more than what's advertised at $130 is not acceptable in my personal opinion. And if you're wondering how this thing can weigh so much despite a thinner shell and also an overall not so big size of a mouse, it's because you're rocking a 500 milliamp hour battery despite using the latest Nordic chips that are supposed to be so much more power saving. So if you wanted to actually take advantage of that technology, what you're supposed to do is take a smaller battery with the same battery life that you had before, but at a lower weight. But for some reason right now, Chinese companies just love putting huge batteries inside of these mice, together with the latest Nordic tech to have even crazier battery life. Yeah. Now, in terms of shape, this thing is an Xtrfy M42 clone. Sometimes I really do wonder if we'll ever see a unique shape from ATK and if they're ever going to make something themselves. And I really did expect this to be something unique because it costs so much. So I figured maybe they actually spent money on R&D, but I guess they didn't. However, that does not mean that this is a bad shape, because this shape fucking rocks, especially with a good coating and no holes unlike the original Extrafy M42. This thing fucking slaps. It is one of my favorite shapes of all time. As you can see, it's definitely a claw focused mouse. It also spots a low button height, which is very welcome. It's not too wide towards the front, and it's also long enough to support a wide variation of hand sizes. When I aggressive claw this thing with my 19 by 10 centimeter hands, you can see that I still have more than enough space towards the front. It fits me very comfortably. I don't have to worry about length at all. And because of that bulbous hump towards the rear, you can also palm grip it if you wanted to. But I would definitely mainly recommend it for something like an aggressive claw, a pincer claw, or a relaxed claw grip. The sides aren't all too tapered, and something that you can definitely notice when gripping this mouse are the comfort grooves on the mouse buttons that are pretty exaggerated compared to most other mice in the market right now. It kind of has this lip towards the front that goes upwards like a slope and stops you from going too far. And I honestly think that this is the first time ever that exaggerated comfort grooves have felt truly comfortable to me personally. The comfort grooves don't tell you exactly where to press your mouse. You can still press it wherever you want to, but it just adds that extra touch of comfort and provides more of a locked in feel compared to certain other mouse clicks that are just flat. The hump is absolutely not as wide as something like the U2. It is definitely more of a round hump. As I've already said, it's very viable for a lot of different hand sizes, and compared to many claw grip focused mice, the hump is actually pretty mellow. It's not as exaggerated as something like the Inca over here on the left. You can see that the hump is much lower. And when comparing it to something like the X2H, you can also see that the hump is rather mellow still. It's not super aggressive. It's not this absolute wall that you just grip your mouse upon. The hump on the X2H is just so steep. And here in the Duckbill, it's definitely not as steep. It is still a claw grip focused hump. It's still rather steep, but it's not this absolute wall. I can still definitely do micro corrections with this thing. And over on the X2H, for example, I just cannot. I just have such a locked in feel, I can barely move the mouse inside of my hand. And when compared to the X2 Mini, for example, you can see that the hump is a bit more pronounced. It is definitely a longer mouse, but not wider, which just makes it feel really awesome and comfortable to aim with. Now, in terms of decoding, it's freaking perfect. It really grips. You don't need your hands to be like super warm just for it to grip. It just grips no matter what. For me personally, I live in a very dry environment, and despite that, I can still grip it very comfortably. It has this like semi-metallic feeling. It is not a glossy coating, but it's also not like a purely matte coating either. It does feel slightly rubbery. It does not feel chalky, but it just works very well, and I really like it. I do suppose that the white and black versions probably are gonna feel a bit different, but you'd have to watch other reviews to actually find that out. These switches are a bit more on the heavy and tactile side. They definitely feel like optical switches. I think they are armored opticals, but I don't actually know what switches are inside. They're definitely not the most spammable in the entire world, but I think they're fine. The side buttons are great. There's no true post travel. They feel really nice, nothing to complain about here. The scroll is also near perfect. You can still feel the defined steps, but it is more on the lighter side, so it's definitely spammable. And mouse free is also not too heavy and just overall really nice. In terms of the battery life, this thing lasts forever because it has a 500 milliamp hour battery with the latest Nordic chip inside, and also inside of the receiver as well for it actually to function correctly. But I really do wish that they had a smaller battery inside of this thing to save some weight and to take advantage of that battery saving power from the Nordic chip as much as they can. In terms of web drivers, yes, they have one. The normal web driver is hub.atk.store, but I also have a new v3 version, and I'll leave both links down in the description for you guys. Here you can pair your device, you can then click on your mouse, and for whatever reason, the first thing that you see is a bunch of advertisements for your product. You can swap the language up in the top right to English, and for whatever reason, you still have some Chinese buttons here and there. Just click through that shit, and then you're finally inside of the WebDriver for the mouse itself. Here you can remap your buttons, change your DPI stages, and you can actually change the color of the stages as well. You can change your polling rate and also your firmware mode down here. Apparently the firmware max version is the one that has the best performance, so I'd recommend you to go for that. And under parameter settings, you have all of the rest of your settings. Here I just recommend the same things as usual. far distance mode for the max performance. This actually boosts your wireless signal so that you're sure to have the best reception possible. You have your debounce time, which is a bit weird because I thought they were using optical switches, a sleep time setting, and something that's fucking awesome is the liftoff distance. You can actually change this by 0.1 millimeters and it does indeed work. I personally absolutely love this and I wish all mice had this. You also have your LED effects and the names are just absolutely horrendous. I really wish they had better translations. You also have different profiles that you can run. And on the latest page you can update the firmware and it seems that a new one has just launched. Now, to the conclusion, who is this mouse for? If you are one of the 10 people watching this video right now that actually owned the M42 and you wish it had a modern version, just buy this thing right now. The absolute only issue I have is the top shell being a bit thin and you can flex it ever so slightly when gripping it really harsh. But as I've already said, that's just an ATK thing. They have that on all of their mice I've tried so far. For most people, that's not an issue. It's only if you have big grippers and are not tension maxing. But in terms of all claw grip mice I've tested this year so far, in terms of the actual shape itself, this is definitely my favorite one so far. It's perfectly viable for 19 by 10 hands or even slightly larger. I probably wouldn't recommend it for anybody with small hands, but here's the catch. $128 on the official ATK store is just way too much compared to the other mice that they have in their lineup. When comparing it to other mice like the Pulsar Crazy Light series for example, I honestly would rather get this at like 130 euros compared to whatever this is and all of the issues that I'm having with the web drivers, firmware, and the out-of-the-box experience just really not being the best for me recently with having bricked mice or unpaired dongles. But if you're gaming on a budget, which you probably are because you're looking at an ATK mouse video right now, I wouldn't recommend buying this on their official store. I'm probably not going to be sending out any ATK products in the future for saying this, but yes, you do get the free mouse pad, which is actually really decent if you buy this mouse on their store for $130. But if you go on AliExpress right now, you can get this thing for like 90 to 95 euros, which is definitely a lot less. And you also get free shipping as well. At around 90 euros, I can definitely recommend this thing. It is fucking awesome, especially this purple version with their coating is really nice. I don't know what the black and white versions actually feel like, unfortunately, but with 100% PTFE skates that actually feel good, although they are a bit thin and also make the base of the mouse rub on softer pads, it really is one of my favorite mice of all time. Just please don't spend $130 on this. I think that this is a solid competitor to something like the Raw M Leviathan V4 that I've also been testing behind the scenes and that I'm gonna review soon as I get a good unit because I actually got a faulty one. But that's really all I have to say so far. As far as I can see, there's no reason for this thing to be so expensive on their store, except for the mouse pad that comes with it. So if anybody from ATK is watching this video, definitely leave a comment down below to explain the situation to us. If you enjoyed the video and want to watch more peripheral enthusiast reviews, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it, and I'll hopefully see you guys pretty soon. Peace out.